ever, like all the way to the last snap when Coach Swinney drug them off the field against Oklahoma when it's 40-0. He had to drag them off the field. They didn't want to leave the field. And the 18 group showed up every single day. And that's a hard thing to do. I take a lot of pride. I show up every day. Like, that's a mindset. I show up every single day. And I take nothing for granted. And the 18 group took nothing for granted. And so we'll see if we have the kind of maturity, the type of edge, the type of hunger. It can be a very emotionally draining mindset. And that's why it's very hard to do. If it was so easy, everybody would do it. And so we'll see. And then I look at, depth. We have some depth at some spots, but is that quality depth or not? And that label will be given based on what you do on the field over the course of the season. Depth in numbers or depth in quality. So we'll see. I'm excited. I think our guys have worked really hard. I saw some noticeable improvement as opposed to just incremental improvement. Saw incremental improvement with some guys, but I saw some noticeable improvement with our front during the course of the spring, and that's not always an easy thing to see. Over the course of 15 practices, but I saw some noticeable improvement. And we'll see if that'll carry over in the fall camp and throughout the course of the season.
Coach, rough season for Xavier Thomas last year with the health issues he had. Missed the last 2 games of the season, but when he was in there, he was pretty productive. Do you think this could be the season he puts it all together?
We certainly hope so. Xavier's worked really hard. He's been he's had the injury bug and just a variety of issues that some of it was out of his control, and some of it maybe wasn't. But I think he's in a good place right now. He'd probably tell you he's probably in his best shape since he's been at Clemson. Our strongest he's been most consistent in the workouts and so forth. So we're expecting a big year. He's incredibly talented. He's powerful, he's explosive, he's got a great pass rush, and hopefully this is the year that he'll put it all together. I believe, based on what we've seen from him, that this is the time for him.
Brent, what's different about IMG Academy? I know as opposed to other high schools, you guys really have started to begin to establish a real pipeline there. And how much is the atmosphere and just kind of how they go about business different than regular Big Ten other programs?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost the three. Some guys are down there right now because of the COVID. Their high school seasons were canceled. And so some of the guys are down there. We were already recruiting at their previous high schools, and I think that the high schools they were at were doing terrific jobs too. I mean, there's a lot of great high schools. IMG is one of those. Obviously, there's not a lot of distractions there. When you go to that school, it's it's academic, it's football. Your family's not there. They've got terrific coaches and they've got great facilities. Some guys it's a great fit for, some others not so so much. So, but they do a wonderful job. Coach Pepper Johnson's the newly named head coach there, and we've had a good experience in recruiting there. They do a wonderful job. We know what we're getting, no surprises, and they do a good job of developing the players there. And we've had a lot of success across the country, but they've done a great job, no question.
Are the facilities there like 2 notches ahead of pretty much any other high school in the country?
I don't know. I think there's some. I wouldn't. I mean, in some ways, some schools, yes, and then you go to the state of Texas, you'll see that everywhere you go, everywhere. 1A, 7A, doesn't matter. But anyway, they've got great facilities, though, no question about it.
And because of the way the kids come in from other high schools and they've spent a year or two, it seems like when they come in here, maybe they've almost got a year or two of college under their belt as far as adaptation.
I think that's a good point. Transitionally, it's it can be an easy transition because it's very focused. It's a very driven environment that they're in. It's very similar. I feel personally college is a little more fun because there's more of a social aspect where you're on that campus and it's a very small campus, and the athletes that are there were all recruited, and it's a very focused sport campus. I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not, but from that standpoint, transitionally, there's a lot of carryover, when you go to college.
Brent, what is Xavier's sort of ideal weight, and has that been a challenge to sort of arrive at as he's trying to be, I guess, but physically resistant while also retaining his speed and athleticism?
What is his weight?
Sort of the ideal sort of.
He's a little freaky. He can carry. If you saw him, you might be surprised at what his weight actually is. So he can really carry, 260 to 280 pretty easy. He's great at all of it. He's got such great natural explosion and power, and I wouldn't want to label him and say this is the ideal weight, and then you ask him, and then he's not there, and he's not at his ideal weight. I'm in a no-win situation. I think that he has shown that he can carry, and play at a good level, in that 20-pound range. But it doesn't look like it's kept him from being any less explosive or in his change of direction, his ability to bend, all those types of things. I think he can handle a variety of weights.
Brent, years past, you've been able to go visit staffs or have staffs come visit you. Taking that did not happen this summer, or did it? Did you all able to go anywhere, or were you able to do anything by Zoom, or how did you all?
We brought some guys in, and we do stuff by Zoom, and we study ourselves, and most importantly, and find ways we can get better. And then we're always looking at people around the country that are successful, and love looking at people that are doing more with less. Real coaching is going on, so a little bit of all of it.
But you got Barrett Carter, a freshman, coming in August for fall camp. How excited are you about getting your hands on him, and how do you expect to use him?
Yeah, we'll see how exactly. Put him in a position to make plays. He's looked great. He's long, he's athletic, really smart. He's an instinctual guy. Got a great humility to him. Tremendous work ethic. Can play in space, can play in the box. He can do a lot of things. And we're going to meet him where he's at, give him what he can handle. We'll see once we get on the field and we start working with him, and then rapidly, make a decision on where he can help us this year, based on where he's at. So a little bit of that is determined on some other guys at other positions, and find out where you need him, and then really try to focus on that particular area, whether that's outside or inside. I think he has the ability to do.
But there is a mic over there.
We're going to apologize if you've been asked this before, but I know you cross-trained Trenton Simpson a little bit. Trenton Simpson in the spring. Is that something you plan to do in the fall?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, him, Vontae Bentley, Keith McGuire, Sergio. Are all guys that have cross-trained.
Do you know where Simpson is right now, weight-wise? I think you or he
he's like
mentioned
228, 230. Yeah.
Brent, you decided where you guys are going to start Makuba, safety, corner.
He's going to play both. Like literally, like every single practice, we'll play both. He's got to be a swing guy for us, and he's back to full health and setting some PRs in the weight room. Very instinctual, plays fast. The game's not real overwhelming for him. Really smart, patient, confident. Has a lot of the things that you look for in a guy that maybe you would put a little bit more on that you love. And same thing with Malcolm Green. He'll play both inside and outside for the same reasons. Very committed, consistent, tough, smart. Ball junkies, And that's what it takes, to be very honest. That's what it takes for a young guy to be able to do multiple things. So they're both very similar. Malcolm's a lot louder. Andrew is a man of few words, but both, at the end of the day, kind of play the same way.
You've been here obviously a while, just after my first extension. Your name's been floated around for different head coaching positions. What's the allure of Hunter? What keeps you here versus going out to somewhere else? And has that even been a thought?
Yes, certainly it's been a thought, but it's the people, the opportunity to be successful, the players that you can recruit, the type of young people, just an established environment, established culture. It's very hard to beat. We have a beautiful